Welcome to Channel X TV, sponsored by Volo. Delighted today to be joined by Wahaaj, UK head of sneakers at eBay, but really a real sneaker fan himself. And welcome. And would you like to tell people where you are and what's behind you?
Yeah, delighted that I'm here, Chris. Thank you for having me. I'm head of sneakers for eBay in the UK, and as you can see, I've got an addiction, which is buying and selling sneakers. So it's been a passion of mine for as long as I can remember, ever since I was in school. I've ended up in a kind of dream job. So it's a bit of a pinch me job.
So you got the dream job, but tell us a little bit about your background. And I believe you started your own sneaker business on eBay when you were at uni.
Yeah, correct. So I grew up kind of with the love of sneakers, buying and selling sneakers, kind of just for myself, so I could kind of buy a pair, flip it, and then use the money to buy maybe two pairs. So just build my collection. Um, and then as I got older, went through college, got to uni, there were a few pairs that I queued for. There was a specific pair which was like a Nike collaboration with Kanye West. I queued for 48 hours in the rain.
No.
Yeah, crazy. Yeah, I stood there 48 hours in the rain, not even to get the sneakers, but to get a wristband to give me an opportunity to then go queue again to get the sneakers. My dad thought I was pretty crazy at the time, but actually, I got two pairs of those sneakers, came home, put one straight onto eBay, and someone drove down from Manchester a week later, and I think I paid £120 for that pair, and I sold them for 4,500. And that's when it
Wow.
hit me, like, yeah, like this is potentially something I can do to kind of pay my way through uni, and make a little bit of extra cash on the side. And what started off as a little kind of side hustle turned into just kept growing. So I expanded my sneaker business, and then the great thing about sneakers is it's all about community and meeting people. So just
Yeah.
initially getting into the sneaker industry opened doors for me in terms of networking, and then I got opportunities to start buying like clearance stock from stores, nothing to do with sneakers, so like tech, kind of like paddling pools, summer stock, seasonal stock. So expanded my sneaker business more into a general eBay business, and here we are.
So obviously you're the ideal person to be head of sneakers at eBay UK. But how did you go from running your own eBay business to getting the job? Because I think that's a dream that a lot of people selling on eBay might have. But how did you do it?
So actually, I studied mechanical engineering at university, and one thing I learned when I was studying mechanical engineering was that actually I'm not that passionate about it. I did it to give me I did it to give me the skill set, to give me options when I finished uni. But actually, when I finished uni and I was applying for uh, assessment centers and graduate jobs in the engineering field, people would look at my experience on my CV and saw that I had an eBay business for 8 years. And in the engineering world, it didn't really mean anything to them. If anything, they probably saw it as if I was trying to fill a gap in my CV, but actually that wasn't the case. I saw an internship at eBay, and I thought I would apply because eBay seemed like a natural place. Coming full circle would have been a nice end to my kind of story of looking for a job. So I applied for an internship, went to the interview. The recruiting manager pulled up my eBay store in the interview, and she looked at my feedback, which at the time was around 3,000, I think, and I was a top-rated power seller. Uh, and they didn't actually offer me the internship, but they gave me an account manager role for AO, Argos, Currys, some of the biggest accounts in the UK. So eBay was the first place that actually appreciated my experience of having a business on eBay, and that opened the door for me at eBay.
Fantastic. So moving back to sneakers, that pair that you bought for sold for £4,000. Um, what's the market for sneakers like at the moment? Because I mean, there's a cost of living crisis. Are people still spending £4,000 on sneakers?
So that pair is actually probably worth about 7 to 8 thousand now. If I had kept it
Have
in
you
brand
still
new
got the
condition,
second pair?
I haven't. I regret selling those pairs. But at the time, right, it's hindsight. You never know what's going to happen, especially at that age. £4,000, even now, is a lot of money for me. So I took the cash. In hindsight, maybe I should have waited. But I think like sneakers is an interesting one because it's cyclical. It goes up and down. So we've been here before in 2016 where the sneaker market kind of the bubble kind of burst, but then it came back. So it's all around trends, demand, similar to fashion. Style comes and goes. Jordans might not be as popular as they were last year, but I'm sure they'll come back into fashion in a few years. So it just comes back full circle.
And are people spending big on sneakers at the moment? I guess it depends a little bit whether you're looking for something to wear or whether you're looking at it as a collectible investment.
Yeah, it's a mix of both. So I would say that there's definitely a buyer out there that has been waiting for a specific sneaker at a certain price. I do it myself, right? I set reminders on eBay when certain things get listed. I get an alert, and then I try and get a steal, put in
Yeah,
offers, lowball
I do
people.
that as well, just not
Yeah,
normally on sneakers.
yeah. So there's definitely people that have missed out on pairs that they really wanted, and they can get them in the resale market, and they may have to pay a little bit more than they were at retail. There's definitely collaboration pairs. One that comes to mind is with Louis Vuitton. Nike dropped an Air Force One. We sell quite a lot of those on eBay, and I think there are like 6,000 to £8,000. So there is definitely still a market out there for high value sneakers. I think with the cost of living crisis, people have just been more considered about what they're spending their money on, right? So even for myself, maybe last year or the year before, when my energy bills were a bit lower, I was probably happy to spend my money on pairs that I didn't really want, just to kind of follow the hype and be fashionable. But now I'm really thinking about, okay, should I be investing this money into a pair of sneakers? I will only probably do it if I'm actually going to wear that pair. And that's what you're seeing with, especially with the younger generation. It's less about hype at the moment. It's more about finding pairs that you can actually wear. And then finally, we're also seeing massive growth in the pre-loved market. So like perceptions of pre-loved are changing, which cost of living is also having a kind of impact on that as well.
So I wanted to ask about buying to wear, because obviously Gen Z especially, they're changing their fashion taste almost weekly, but much more often than the two seasons we're used to in the fashion industry. It changes every day.
Yeah.
How's this influencing the sneaker industry? Is there a lot of buying, wearing a couple of times and reselling? What's the appetite for pre-loved over brand new?
Yeah, so I guess when I was growing up, like pre-loved sneakers wasn't even a thing. Like the thought of me wearing a sneaker that had been worn by somebody else, just it it, it was not something I was willing to do. I think with especially with the rise of cleaning products, brands that are putting products out there that allow you to keep you clean, keep your shoes in a good state and resell them. It's making people more willing to buy pre-loved because they know that they're getting a pair that has been cleaned, it's been looked after. So I think what we're seeing now is that, especially again with Gen Z, we're seeing that Gen Z are buying pairs, wearing them, getting use out of them, keeping them clean, cleaning them up, and then reselling them on eBay. I think there's even a stat around which 64% of Gen Z buyers are cite financial saving as a reason for e-commerce. So they're willing to sell their old pairs to make a bit of extra cash to then fund their next purchase. So we're seeing this kind of circularity and flywheel in fashion.
So that's interesting that you're saying that they're looking at it from a finance perspective, because obviously Gen Z, one of the things we know about them is they're passionate about the environment. So how much of it is kind of savvy buying, wearing, selling, recouping money, and how much is it about sustainability and the planet?
I think it's both, right? So sustainability is definitely a key factor in Gen Z's consideration when they're buying products. But then when you add value to sustainability, it becomes really compelling, right? So like if you can go onto eBay and you can get a designer pair of sneakers that would cost you £600-700 in the store, but you can get it and it's being worn once or twice for £300. Like it's a no brainer. And Gen Z are really like open to doing that. And like you said, back to the trends point, like trends are changing so fast these days where you wear a pair of sneakers 3 or 4 times, people have moved on. The trends have changed. So whereas I probably would have put that sneaker in the cupboard and left it tucked away, probably still got some at home. The younger generation are happy to just put it on platforms like eBay and get a bit of extra cash to then buy their next purchase. But sustainability is definitely a big consideration factor with the younger generation.
Mhm. And I know that sort of partnerships are changing in the industry, and there's some real unexpected heroes at the moment. Like who would have thought Crocs would ever be fashionable?
Yeah.
And yes, I admit I've got a pair of Crocs for just running down the garden. Um, but what other brands are you seeing coming to the fore? What are people really looking for out there?
I think partnerships is interesting because we continue to see collaborations and partnerships, and a lot of these brands are looking to diversify their audience. So you see brands like Crocs partnering up with brands like Palace, streetwear brand, tapping into that streetwear audience, and probably making Crocs a bit cooler than they previously were. Um, we
I
see
didn't
other
think they
brands
were
like
ever cool.
well, they apparently they are now. I know quite a few people that wear
This, by
Crocs
the
because
way, is
they're
the
cool.
first time I've ever publicly admitted owning a pair to run down the garden in.
Well, right now, Chris, you're cool with those Crocs, so keep them, and when they're not cool, maybe you can put them on eBay, get a bit of extra cash, and buy the next best thing. But we're seeing brands like Uggs. Uggs did a collaboration with Stussy, which is a big one. So Uggs probably weren't that popular and with my kind of demographic before, but I see all of my friends wearing Uggs at the moment. So yeah, brands are leaning on partnerships to become to tap into that audience, diversify, become cool, and become a part of culture. Actually,
Mm.
I think the difference in the UK as well is that people get their influence more from culture. So what people are wearing, what influencers are wearing, what celebrities are wearing, less so about sports. So I think in the UK especially, partnerships resonate because it's not just about sports; it's about brands coming together to to make a product that is culturally relevant at that point in time.
Mm. And how does a brand go about being culturally relevant? It's easy to say, but I mean, the relevancy is going to be different, even I guess city by city. Somewhere in the north may have a very different street culture to someone in London, for example. How can brands tap into this, and how can they follow the influencers and know which partnerships to go for that are going to get the sales coming through the door for the business?
I think the important thing about partnerships is having a meaningful story behind it. And whether that story is relevant to a specific city or demographic, I think that's super important. So I think, like you said, like if I think about London, I would say Air Max is probably the London sneaker. When I think about cities, maybe Scotland, I think about Glasgow, New Balance comes to mind. I think about Liverpool. Liverpool's definitely got its own uniform. So making sure that you're uh, being relevant to the audience that you're trying to cater for. So there's a collaboration with Liam Gallagher and Adidas. They've got a collaboration, for example. That is definitely probably a sneaker that resonated quite a lot up north. We saw a lot of sales for that on eBay. And I speak to some of the sneaker stores in London. They weren't really selling many of those sneakers. So it's the story behind the partnership. And I think a lot of these partnerships make sense and resonate with those audiences.
And I think it is also worth touching on the reselling on eBay before I let you go. eBay is obviously massive for the sneaker market, but they've done an awful lot with authenticity recently.
Yeah.
And it's something you said right at the beginning. You sold a pair for 4,000, and someone drove down from Manchester to pick them up. I don't think that would really happen anymore with the authenticity guarantee on eBay. So, do you want to just tell us a little bit about what eBay are doing to make sneaker selling easier, simpler, a smoother journey, and to add in the reassurance that you are buying a genuine product each and every time?
Yeah, so we launched authenticity guarantee on sneakers first. So that was one of our first categories. The real reason we did that was to give both buyers and sellers a peace of mind that if you're a seller, um, you don't have any issues with returns, right? Like we don't have any bad buyers abusing kind of the program. We on a buyer side, we give the buyer trust that what you're getting is 100% genuine, but also it matches the listing. So not only do we check the authenticity of the product, we check that it's the right size. It's the shoe that it was on the listing. We check the photos versus the condition of the product we actually receive. So it's all around trust, and especially with the higher value sneakers, I think that's the reason the person came to collect and did cash on did pickup, because at that point in time, like I really needed to meet the person that was buying the sneaker to have that trust, especially with a higher value pair. But now I can ship that sneaker straight to eBay. I know that so eBay provides you with a delivery label. So I sell my sneaker, I get a free delivery label. I just stick that on the box, drop it to my local drop off point, and then job done. And then I don't need to worry about anything. And then if the buyer decides to return the product comes back through us. We then check it again, make sure it hasn't been tried on, make sure it's in the same condition, and then we send it back to the seller. So it's all around trust, and especially in a market where we do sell a lot of high value stuff, people do buy stuff to collect. It's important that people do have that trust.
So it sounded like it's in some ways a lot easier to sell sneakers now with the trust element taken care of than when you were at uni. What would you say to someone that's thinking of starting a business today, whether it be a sneaker resale business that they're passionate about, like you, or perhaps as you did, branching out into other categories on eBay?
I think my piece of advice is just go for it. I think, like, especially with eBay, it's so easy to get started and you can do it from your bedroom. All you really need is a phone. Like, you don't even need a laptop, you just need a phone and an internet connection. Snap a few photos, make sure your listings are looking good, get everything listed and see what happens. That's how I really started. I started off as a private seller, probably selling bits of my own collection, and then realized that I could scale this and turn it into something where I could make a bit of extra cash on the side. So I'm lucky enough in my day job to meet people that have started eBay businesses, and it blows my mind. Like, people that were younger than me when I started my business, people that are I know one of our eBay for Business award winners a few years ago, Troy. He's got a business called Loaded Kicks on eBay. So he started off buying sneakers from his friends and family, used pairs, cleaning them up, and just putting them on eBay. So I think the barrier to selling on eBay is just yourself and your time. If you can put the time in and you have a phone, you can take photos, get going with it, because I think you'll be able to make a little bit of extra cash on the side.
Yeah, and I think you're right. It is easier than ever to sell on eBay nowadays, because I remember when I first started back in 2002, it was a laptop. Smartphones hadn't even really been invented till the iPhone in 2006.
Yeah.
You needed a digital camera. The camera on my phone is way better than any digital camera well, a sort of a affordable sort of low end
Yeah.
digital camera. In fact, I'm actually using my mobile phone to record this interview today. So that's how good mobile phone technology's got.
Yeah.
So really, really easy to get started. So I want to thank you so much for your time today. But one final question before I let you go.
Yeah.
What's the next big thing in sneakers? Which pair do you wish you could own today? What's on your watch list?
So funny you say that. So everything I'm actually looking at the moment is stuff that I missed out on, and I couldn't afford to buy brand new, but I'm actually willing to buy pre-loved. So there's a pair which is a Jordan 1. It's a collaboration with Virgil Abloh. It's a red and white colorway. It's called Chicago. Missed out on that sneaker, but I've seen a few. I've got an alert on that right now in a size 9 on eBay. I'm looking for a pre-loved pair, but I've seen a few bargains. I put in a few bids and a few offers, but missed out. But I'm hoping to get my hands on a pair very soon.
So if anyone out there's got a pair, we'll put your LinkedIn profile link beneath this video. So get in touch and do a private listing on eBay, and you've got a customer in Wahaaj. But thank you so much for your time today. It's been absolutely fascinating to talk everything sneakers and eBay. So thank you very much.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you, Chris.